Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this narration of the web series 3 Fleets, taken from Reddit with the author's approval. If you are new to the series, there is a playlist listed in the description, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 6. Third Fleet, First Duty. 1,000 ships burned in space above the Turlik homeworld. The humans would not retreat because their rage propelled them forward. The Turlik would not retreat because this was their home. The allies of the Turlik had not abandoned their comrades, so the massive ships fought and burned and crashed and killed high above the frightened populace. Explosions were seen even in daylight. Night brought its own terrors. On the human flagship, a small port dilated open, and a tiny ship, nearly invisible in the fog of war, and next to such a behemoth of a ship, slipped out. The tiny ship coasted through the firefight, unnoticed. "Major," said Private Williams, "we're 3 minutes out." Williams was in the forward part of the tiny ship, watching a status screen and making minute adjustments to the ship's course. The ship was barely large enough to contain a dozen soldiers inside. They were all strapped to the overhead rails by nylon cords lashed to their vacuum-capable armor. They stood back to front and could feel their people around them breathe. The center aisle was clear straight to the front airlock. "Understood, Private," the Major replied. He turned to another nearly faceless soldier across the aisle and said, "Commander, to make this clear one last time, this is a Marine mission." Commander Peller said, "Absolutely, Major. I'm a tourist here right up until we reach the objective. The Navy gets to work." The crowded little pod drifted through the blackness. The soldiers inside could hear bits of debris knocking against the hull. Williams would check on the automated systems, keeping them on course after every impact. "Sure hope they don't decide to vape us in this tin can," Jamina said. "They're not going to see us, Lance Corporal," the commander replied. "Big things are easier to see than small things, so we made this pod as small as possible. Bright things are easier to see than dark things in space, so this pod is black. Shiny things are easier to see than flat things, so this pod is armored with sensor-absorbing material, and so on. I knew a couple of the engineers on the design team, and they did everything they could to make us hard to spot." "But if they shoot us, we're dead, right, Commander?" Jaminas asked. "Part of making us hard to spot was ditching as much as possible. We've got 20 minutes of air, no armor or weapons, and only minimal propulsion. We're like an ancient mammal ancestors in time of dinosaurs. We survive by being unseen." The light inside the pod blinked 3 times. "All right, Marines, 30 seconds out," the Major said. "Check your straps and set to deploy." Outside, the pod drifted towards a giant ship from one of the species or another in the Invalid Union. The approach was slow and unpowered, making the automated defense think that the pod stuffed with humans was a harmless piece of battle trash. The pod impacted the side of the ship with little to slow it down. The humans inside were tossed forward and their safety lines went taut. Magnetic and kinetic clamps automatically deployed on contact, holding the pod fast against the biggest ship. Inside the pod, the forward hatch showed light escaping around it as the robotic arms began cutting into the hull of the Union ship. In seconds, the larger ship had been breached and the Marines poured into a new door. Commander Peller was the last one out. She heard a distinctive twang of modified Turlik weapons and Marines carried. When she stepped into the passageway moments later, she saw 4 dead aliens and a dozen tightly packed Marines waiting for her. The interior of the Union ship was not like she expected. Where she had thought to see straight hallways of metallic and ceramic, she saw rounded tunnels and walls of mud. The air was hazy with motes dancing in the light of the headlamps. Gravity felt like more of suggestion than a law of physics in the ship. "Where to?" the Major asked Williams. "Hard to say, sir. All that trash that hit us pushed us off course a bit. Looks like we're 2 decks down and 7 or 8 sections back from where we need to be." "Good enough. Marines, form up. We're going up 2 and forward 7. Keep the commander safe and double time it," the Major said. The Marines formed up with 1 on each side of the tunnel, with weapons held in front of them and trying to see around corners. They could only move forward 2 sections before they were pinned down by enemy fire. The bugs erupted from the side passages, from alcoves, from tunnels connecting above and below. The multi-dimensional approach staggered the Marines who were used to thinking of much more two-dimensionally. The band of humans was forced to back step by step. One of the Marines, Commander Pella couldn't tell which, found a room that led the team into it, stealing a hatch behind them. "Goddamn bugs," Jimenez said. He had been hit in the upper chest, his suit sealing off the worst of the damage. His left arm hung limp and useless at his side. Rexler stepped over to him and started first aid. "Major, this isn't going well," the commander said. "It's just going to take us a little longer, ma'am," the major replied. "We don't have much time. We can't fight our way through 1,000 bugs to get you where you need to be, but if I can—" "Sir," Williams shouted, "the bugs found the pod," Williams said as he types the commands into his arm console, glowing bands of data floating across his faceplate. "They've sealed that section and are attempting to disengage the clamps." "The bugs are stealing our fecking ride," Jimenez half shouted through the narcotics. A dull thump sounded against the thick hatch of the door room. The major looked at his men and back at the commander. "How much time will you need in the control room?" Major asked. "Not much. 5 minutes or so. I just have to find the right port to interface," the commander said. 5 minutes is a hell of a long time when the entire army's shooting at you," the major said. "We'll give you what you can, but you'll have to find an escape pod to get back." "What? What are you talking about?" "The hallway we came in has no cover. If we attempt to retake the breaching pod, they'll mow us down. We have to abandon it. Next, there are too many bugs out there to fight our way through, so my team and I will stay here and create a distraction. I'll send Williams with you to cover your back. Once you finish, he can help you pilot the ship back to our fleet." "Major, if my mission's a success, you won't be coming back," the commander said. "Commander, we're already not coming back. There's no way off the ship for all of us. Best we can do is complete the mission and give you the time you need. We all knew the risks when we signed up." 10 minutes later, the commander and Private Williams were crawling through a muddied access hatch into the secondary control room. Commander Pella had swallowed her pride and her frustration when they had snuck out of the room through a ventilation duct. Aboard 3rd Fleet flagship, Admiral Chuang asked, "Any word from Echo 9? "No, sir," said the lieutenant sitting at the communications relay. "We lost contact a few minutes ago." "Very well," the admiral said. The damage display in the war room showed multiple severe and critical issues. The bugs' ships, clearly the heart of the Union fleet, was delivering an unprecedented pounding to the humans. Then the guns fell silent. The giant alien vessel began rotating and listing. Tiny explosions from inside pockmarked the outer hull of the enormous vessel as it turned to face the planet. The massive engines at the rear of the ship blazed brighter than 1,000 suns for the briefest of moments, then grew dark. The terrible thrust delivered by the engines, however, was enough to push the ship's nose into the upper reaches of the atmosphere. The Trilliac homeworld started pulling at the Union flagship, atmosphere dragging it slower, gravity clawing at every particle. In 3 minutes, the flagship, more or less in one piece, crashed into the shallow bay just west of the largest continent. The explosion overwhelmed every sensor in the fleet and blinded the eyes of those unlucky enough to have witnessed it firsthand. A roiling shockwave raced outwards from the impact point at the speed of sound. Fires raged across the land, water vapor erupted into space and blanketed the planet. Radioactive material from Union flagship's reactor was flung far and wide across the planet. The very air of the Trilliac homeworld was rent from the blackness of space to the bedrock of continents. Life on the Trilliac homeworld was coming to a rapid, crushing, and fiery end. The admiral sat in his command chair and watched the extinction of an entire world. 2 fleets warring above the planet had fallen silent, shocked by the brutality of final weapon. "Admiral, we're picking up a Terran IFF signal from what looks like a bug escape pod," the communications lieutenant said. The admiral nodded but did not take his eyes off the screen showing the planet dying below him. "Scan it. Have Captain Benter bring it aboard if it seems safe." The admiral watched as the world burned in space. There was nothing anyone could do now to help or hinder, but the admiral felt this moment deserved his full attention. He had accomplished his mission of vengeance. End of chapter. This is a special thank you to the one, the only, the legendary Eric Hino, who has become the only Tier 6 patron. Just a quick shout out to the T5 peeps: Bob the Dragon, Cat Crab Lobster, Data Magnet, Dark Machine, Try Again 95, Fudic Yol, Astrea the Dreamer, Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Athelia, Meridian 117, and Jordan Bucksmorm. Thank you very much. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed. There are links down below, both to support this channel and for the author of this fiction. Anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic one, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.